Hi there, I'm Jenny at Jenny Bell Hair on Instagram, and today I'm going to take you through this look, which is a loose, undone up style, and I'm hopefully going to help you to create this for yourself for your Fashion Art Toronto runway show. I'm going to show you step by step how to achieve this look, and of course you may have to alter it based on your hair type and length and density. So there's a few tips throughout the video for that. But basically we're looking to achieve this shape. So you want to have some volume behind your ears. You want a little bit on the sides and a lot through the top. Okay, so what we're gonna need today to create this look, the first thing you'll need is a blow dryer just to prep your hair. You're going to want to use a flat brush, so whatever you have that's flat. Today I'm going to use my wet brush, and for this beginning part you would need a mousse or a gel that's just going to hold. We're going to apply it through the top section of your hair, and you're just going to put it through your roots and do a quick wrap blow dry to redirect your roots, just in case you have any funny kinks around your hairline. This is also, we need some volume through the top, actually as much as you can through the top. So we're going to do some brushing every direction to just really boost volume. So don't be afraid to put quite a bit of product in on your root and even through your crown, okay? So the next step after that will be to use a curling iron. So you're going to need a heat protector for that, and appropriate barrel size for your hair. So anyone with my length or longer can go with a large barrel. So 1 1/4, 1 1/2 inch barrel. If you have shorter hair than mine, but still short enough or long enough to get into the curling iron, you can use a smaller one. But you don't need to be too particular about the curling, just to get some movement through your hair, making it more pliable, easier to pin, easier to place, all that. Also, you're going to need a hairspray, a working spray for setting your curls and for when we start placing pins. You will need a fine tooth comb. It can look totally different from this. You don't have to have a tail comb, just as long as you have fine teeth for back combing. Also, you'll want a round brush as well for the prepping if you have long hair and you need to just smooth the ends a little. We will need for the up styling portion, again, the working spray, and you can layer a working spray and use it as a finishing spray, or you can use a very strong finishing spray at the end. But keeping in mind you still want it to be very piecey and soft, so don't go too crazy with that, just enough to hold it, but that's what the pins are for. And you'll want some bobby pins as close to your hair color as possible. You can use something like that. And if you have a nice brush with some soft bristles for brushing over your back combing, that can work. Also, we don't need to have that. We can work without it, okay? All right, let's get started.
So you're just gonna take your styling product and apply it to your roots along the hairline and up through your part, and also back within the crown area. So taking your blow dryer and your brush, you're just going to want to push your hair every direction so that it's not kinking anywhere or following its own direction. You just want to smooth it out, give it a nice base and a lot of volume if possible. When you're focusing on the crown, you definitely want to move your hair as much as possible so that you're not getting a split, which many people get in the back of their head.
The next step if you have long hair and you want to smooth it out, just start taking your round brush through the ends. I don't have a lot of hair to do that with, so you're just gonna wanna work through smoothing everything out. You can use very large sections and just smooth your hair with that round brush. So as we're working on this shape and style today, just keep in mind that everyone has different hair. So if you have very fine flat hair like mine, you're gonna wanna add more product and just focus on doing more texture so that you can get bigger hair. But if you already have naturally curly hair, you may not even need to curl it or blow dry it in the beginning. You might be able to work with your natural curl perfectly, and as long as we capture the same shape.
So now I'm just taking some large sections through the top. Always spray first and then brush before you apply the heat, so that you're really pulling the product and the spray right through your hair, and it's gonna just make it that much more secure and strong. And I'm using sectioning clips to hold these top 3 sections that will just be moving backwards across the top of my head, one behind the other. Make sure you're working on base, which means your curling iron will go straight down towards your scalp. It won't be pulling back or moving forward too much. If anything, over directing it forward a bit will give you more volume. So by pinning the curls onto their base, it's just allowing them extra time to cool and set, as well as keeping that hair out of the way, because we're going to be working on the top part last. We'll be starting in the bottom after we've done the curls there. Now we're going to start working through the sides, and I'm only doing one section on each side, a really big one, because I don't have a lot of hair. But notice how I'm pulling with the brush, pulling it upward and forward a little bit on a diagonal and placing the curling iron in that direction. That's just going to give it some extra volume. Make sure that it's not dragging down at my hairline at all. So I just wanted to mention that if you have longer hair than me, a lot longer or even a little longer, but it's a bit overwhelming to do what I'm doing here, you can certainly pigtail your hair in the back with 2 elastics and curl your hair in front of your shoulder. Another suggestion for extra thick, extra long hair that you need to find a place to put it all is you could do braids and then kind of pull out the braids a little after you've put the elastics on the ends. You can pull the braid out a little bit to make it fatter, and then use that, because you're gonna see after this, we're gonna start pinning this area. And since I don't have a whole lot of hair, it's easier to pin this all. But if you had long, thick hair, you're gonna need to find a place to put it all, like I said. So you can certainly work off pigtails or braids and work with that, just as long as we get that same shape happening. For those that are doing the curls this way, I'm just doing them 2 curls going towards the middle from one side, and the other 2 curls are going towards the back again from the other side.
So when you're finished all of that, you're gonna get another once over with the hairspray just to lock everything in, and then just give it a minute to cool and to dry. So if your hairspray is a little bit wet, it's just gonna dry, so you don't start working with it and pulling the curl out. So you're gonna wanna start back combing and pinning. So I just wanna talk about the back combing at first. So when you start to back comb, you don't wanna be going up and down. You just wanna go into the hair, push it down, almost in like a C shape, and then take the comb out. So you're placing the comb, squishing the hair towards the scalp, and then taking it out. Maybe you wanna do that 2 or 3 times, maybe more. If your hair is already a little bit textured, you're gonna get a good little back comb after 2. But if you have very fine hair and you haven't put enough product in, you're gonna have to do it a few more times, maybe, okay?
So now I'm just combing from the back of the section, so in behind the section. So I'm creating a little pillow basically for your pins to hold on to. You can do a tiny bit of back combing on the outside, which I did not do there, because remember, we're going for a very soft piecey look, just not too messy. So as we start to pin, just keep in mind that you're wanting to pin it on the inside, so keeping those pins hidden as much as possible and also as secure as possible. You don't want them to feel like they're falling out, and keep an eye on the shape as you go and keep it soft.
What I've just done on this side was I followed the curl pattern that we created and just wrapped the curls into themselves. So because we curled them inwards, I was able to just follow the exact curl pattern and pin them exactly how I curled them. Now, you're totally welcome to do that if that's what works for you. Another thing that you could do that would also create more softness behind the ear is you can just back comb, teasing's a bad word. You can tease this area and spray it and just kind of pin it very loosely. So basically, you're no longer doing the root area. And just taking the ends and kind of scooping them in. And it's very organic when you pin. I mean, sometimes you can feel that it wants to fall, so you might add a little X, a crisscross with the pin so that it stays. But you don't want it to feel like it can move and fall. So here we go with this more organic placement. And we can kind of squish the hair in. If that is what makes you more comfortable to pin it this way, because remember, we don't want it to look perfectly done, so totally this is fine, but you want to make sure you're spraying it a lot. So this works. Just after, you obviously have to check, is that piece falling out? But remember, we have the top to bring down over it, so we're going to block if it gets a little bit messy in here. Okay. And I'm trying to hide the pins inside, so I'm pushing them in. So there's one side that's a little more following the curl pattern, and this side's just more like a messy and a little bit more undone.
So we're going to start working through that crown section. It's just the one section. I split it in 2, and I'm back combing it, holding it straight up, spraying and placing it forward, and then basically you just need to let that dry a little bit before you move on. Now, as you can see, I'm just using my fingers to kind of smooth out the top layer of that poof, but you are welcome to use a brush. Just make sure you're not brushing out all of the back combing underneath, because you need that for the volume. So through the sides, I'm doing pretty much the exact same thing I did in the crown, following the section. So I'm doing diagonal sectioning there, splitting each of the side sections into 2 so that I can put extra back combing for the volume. And this time I chose to use a brush because we don't want the sides as voluminous as the crown. But yeah, just to smooth it out a little bit. Remember, in the end, it's going to be pulled out a little more soft and piecey, so don't stress too much if it's a bit piecey. And just secure it in the back, close to where you did your crown pinning. As you can see, my length of hair just barely reaches the back, so you may have a lot more hair to continue to pin once you've done that initial pin like I have. So all you need to do is similar to the back, choose whether you want to roll the hair and pin it from the inside, or you can back comb for a softer look and just kind of squish the hair in with the pins. Have some fun with it.
So as you can see, I'm not getting my sides exactly the same. Remember, I did something different in the back on both sides as well. It doesn't have to be the same on both sides, just generally out from the head, pinned, and then we're gonna like piece a little bit of it out at the very end, okay? So don't worry about getting it perfect, just as long as it's pinned and secure. And if any little pieces are falling out in the back, you can always get them at the end as well. And just make sure you don't have any pins that are showing. I noticed I do because that top section I brought down, I did a crisscross and you can kind of see it. But like I said, I've been saying all along, pull it out a little. Pull a piece that feels loose and wrap it in there over top of those pins. Don't overthink it, just go. You can even take like a piece of this hair and sort of pull it down. So squish it over those pins, kind of like use the pin to grab the hair and just pull it down under the pins and then pull some of the hair back out. A beautiful mess is what we're going for here. And remember, in the end, I'm gonna be pulling on pieces and spraying them and kind of squishing them with my fingers and making it look very soft and undone. Now we're gonna work on the top, which is all about volume and softness, making it work over to one side. You choose which side.
So like I said, the top is all about volume, so you're going to want to back comb, go a little bit crazier up there if you like. Spray it a lot, especially if you're trying to keep some of those short hairs that you might have some fringe or some layers that you're trying to incorporate into this style. We just want to make sure it's super secure. By the end, it should look like you have a little bit of a mohawk happening, which is fun. Feel free to take pictures of that look. So here I'm just deciding which way I want the top part to go. That could be based on how well I did on one side of my hair versus the other, or just personal preference. So I did use a brush very lightly through the top section, but you just want to make sure you don't take out too much of that volume. I did pin that back section first, and now I'm pinning the front very lightly, loosely, obviously securely, but just wanting to leave room for pieciness, because after I can pull that top up and use the hard spray just to really give it a lot of texture.
All right, so I did have to pin a few more pieces in because I had some that just looked kind of funny, and you can kind of check it out yourself and see if you feel like anything needs another pin. And you can just simply put your pin in and then squish it through the hair. so that it goes inside and it's not on the outside. But this is the general sort of look we're going for. So we have softness around the edges, so maybe there's pieces falling out a little bit. Not too big of pieces, but smaller strands that are kind of, you could see them being wind blown or kind of falling out naturally. We have a lot of volume through the bottom, a little through the sides, and a lot at the top. So give it an aggressive spray with something that's very strong if you have, because when your hair is in this sort of undone, falling out sort of look, you just want it to stay that way. You don't want it to continue to fall out. So as long as it's pinned well and you can feel that those pins aren't moving around or being pushed by other pins, then you're okay. And as long as most of them are hidden, which is, I think I did okay. You just want to give it a really good spray so that those pieces just, they don't get too messy. So little messy's okay, a lot of messy's not okay. And then everything stays in its spot. All right, I hope to see you soon at the show, and good luck. I hope it's great.